Peace, 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 Brianna. Peace, wise feminine. King T, Islam, brethren. Okay, let's get it cooking because I probably got. We're gonna see if we can do this in like 10 minutes. This is just a little drive by something here. Oh, thank you, brother. Oh, thank you much. I'm glad you enjoying it. Thank you again for taking the chance, and purchasing it. Gary the Hood Rich, what's happening? Okay, so the title of this is Stay Thirsty, my friends. I know you all familiar with that from the Dos Equis commercials that were so popular. Um, let's get right into it because I got this is just a brief piece, Kandaki. Priest, this is just a brief like drive by of um, something I'm gonna do later about Eve. Um, so before my old man transition, you know, I don't know if this is um, thank you. Um, I just always want to challenge my daddy, not like no disrespectful, but when when you're learning, you wanna, you wanna when you really look up to somebody, you wanna sometimes challenge them a little bit and show that you know something, and I also want to see get their perspective. So a lot of times I would, ask my old man stuff, and I want to see what he got to say. And you gotta remember, or know that my old man was 77 when he transitioned. So this is around like he's around 74, 75. We'd be talking. I've said this before in conversations. A lot of times he would say when I asked him things, he would say, "Well, I don't know," and it would frustrate me because I'm like, I want something deep, so I could counter it and come back with something deep, and maybe deeper, and this and that. And all he would give me is, "I don't know." Then he really cook my goose. He say, "You figure it out," you know. Or I would get on him about writing the book. He never wrote a book. I always stayed on about writing a book. He said, "Well, won't you write the book?" I'm like, damn, I can't get nothing out of him. And what I learn as I go on in life is that that's masterful right there because you enter the world with zero and you fill up. And then if you do this thing right, when you get to the end of your life, you should be back at zero again. You should be back empty. And um, so that I don't know leaves room to learn. Even as you about to leave this plane, it still leaves a room, this great vacuum of empty space for learning. Versus if I feel I've known everything I need to know, then I just put a restriction on myself. Um, I want to kick this off with that because where I feel like what keeps me going is you can talk to me Monday at the end of May and talk to me Monday in the early part of June, and you might get a different version of me. Not as though, not in the sense of, oh, he fake, he this way one, not that. I'm talking about I may see something one way in May, and by the time June come, I may see something differently because as far as what I've come to know, this is what I'm supposed to do if I'm on the path. I'm supposed to be constantly evolving and changing. and growing, because that is what growth is. And that's why I like to label myself a master student and not a master teacher. Because if I'm a master student, that means that I am mastering the art of continuously learning. And I don't have to impress you or impress anyone else about I know it all, because that leaves a door open for me to know more. Okay? And it keeps me humble, you know. Um, with that said, I've been looking at things. I'm not blind. I don't live under a rock. I see everything going on. You can't run from it, you can't hide from it. But one thing I want to say is that as all this stuff is taken off, um, in the world, the whole medical thing with the medical threat, was said that way, and the broadcasting of death. What has come up in both instances is what we would perceive to be life. I noticed that when this whole thing broke out with the pandemic thing, people fighting for tissue, fighting for paper towels, fighting for the last pork chops, fighting for bleach, um, things of this nature, fighting for parking spaces. And what it brought up in my mind was, damn, what's I wonder what life is to these people. Okay. And then whenever we see a death that pops up and it's constantly thrown in our face, and we respond and we do the same, not no we, certain segments do the same things that have been done for at least the last 50 years. The same response. The same response. Then the question has to come up again, well, what is life? What is life? Before all this stuff happened, I was in the barbershop one Saturday and I asked this question because they got on they called themselves this particular Saturday, they was going to get deep. They want to talk about, we don't support each other and we don't. I said, well, okay, all right, we done heard this a million times. I said, well, what is life to each of us? 5 people in there, including me. Well, what does life mean to everybody in here? I asked the other 4 people. I got 4 different answers. Okay? So if it's always that we got to come together, right? That's always when tragedy strikes, we got to come together. We, us, we. It's the same thing over and over. And nothing ever registers that we do the same thing over and over. So at some point, is it crazy of me to try to introduce the idea of thinking outside of the box? So I introduced that question. I got 4 different answers, if that. And I dare you to go out and ask people, whomever, whatever walk of life, whatever degree of knowledge, ask what life is. And I defy you to come back with one answer. So when we have this question of we got to come together, then, we have this declaration of we must come together, then you cannot make this declaration and it be substantial without dealing with the rudimentary issue of what is life to the subjects and the people involved. That is common sense. Otherwise, it is an emotional outburst that has nothing of substance that comes out of it. How can I talk about we got to come together when I don't want to deal with the elemental thing of, well, what is life to all these people that I say that need to come together? And obviously, if I'm saying they need to come together, maybe I'm putting myself forward as I have an answer and a solution, and I might be a leader to bring them together. Well, I got to start off by saying what life is for me. Somebody's got to at least lay out what life is. And it can't be a freestyle. It can't be an ad lib. Now that might seem impossible in 2020 to say, Jamal, you asking for some utopian type of thing to say, oh, that should be a congruent, uh, um, um, consistent definition of what life is. But I argue that we've left ourselves clues, not just clues, more than clues. We left ourselves a roadmap for a time such as this. And that roadmap was through language. I'm not saying that this is the end all be all, but I'm telling you what I have discovered. Language. Let me grab something. This brief conversation is brought to you by Masters of the Cosmos and The Lies Behind the Times. An excellent read, controversial read, but something that will tickle your medulla oblongata. This brief lecture is also brought to you by Social Distancing Wear. Back, 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 back. Give me 6 feet. On the back it says, to really piss off those people who stand too close to you in the grocery store line, I've been social distancing for decades. You can get these products on mastersofthecosmos.com. All right. Okay, I'm coming. All right, I gotta make this quick. Gotta make this quick. You know, gotta make this quick. We're gonna go to Genesis chapter 11, verse 1. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east, and they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they made brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the earth whole, a face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they shall have one language. And this they began to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build a city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from hence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. Okay. Shinar first lets us know we're talking about Canaan, Canaanite, Moabite, but more than that, because those people are more than that. How do I know? Now, this is why you study language. That little simple word tower in that passage is the key. Because when you go and do the etymology on the word tower, we left ourselves clues through language. You go do the etymology. This is you're looking here, this book, Origins. You'll find that the word tower comes from something that's also familiar in the Bible. Where was Hiram Abiff from? Or where was his father from? So as the passage says. I don't have time to wait on y'all to tell me in the chat. Hiram was from Tyre. Tyree. Now, what does that have to do with the price of tea in China? Because the word tower comes from Tyree. The word Tyree, guess what it means? Etruscan. See, that's why you don't discard this book. Because if you read it right, you will find some secrets in it. It is. It's the stories are not literally historical, but they can give you historical data. Just in the word tower, you're talking about Tyree, Etruscans. And the Etruscans are the same people as the Canaanites, as the Moabites, as the Carthaginians, as the Phoenicians, as the Cometians, as the Moors. They're the same people. And these works were prophetic. So if a time like this will come about and you really want to bring something together, then we got to start with language because language is tongue. Tongue is tower. All the same thing. Okay? So there's a section in this book, the Sufis, and I got to move because they ready to go. They ready to go. I got to hurry up. I'm gonna see if I can read this. This passage is about four travelers. Okay, this is long. This shit long. On this occasion, a newcomer had just asked our teacher. Four men, a Persian, a Turk, an Arab, and a Greek, were standing in the village street. They were traveling 24 King T. They were what starts on 23. They were traveling companions, making for some distant place. But at this moment they were arguing over the spending of a single piece of money, which was all that they had among them. I want to buy Unger, said the Persian. I want Uzum, said the Turk. I want Inab, said the Arab. No, said the Greek. We should buy Staffel. Another traveler passing, a linguist, said, give the coin to me. I undertake to satisfy the desires of all of you. At first, they would not trust him. Ultimately, they let him have the coin. He went to the shop of a fruit seller and bought 4 small bunches of grapes. This is my Unger, said the Persian. This is what I call Uzum, said the Turk. You have brought me Inab, said the Arab. No, said the Greek. This in my language is Staffel. The grapes were shared out among them, and each realized that the disharmony had been due to his faulty understanding of the language of the others. The travelers, said the Agha, are the ordinary people of the world. The linguist is the Sufi. People know that they want something because there is an inner need existing in them. They may give it different names, but it is the same thing. Those who call it religion have different names for it and even different ideas as to what it might be. Those who call it ambition try to find its scope in different ways. But it is only when a linguist appears, someone who knows what they really mean, that they can stop the struggling and get on with the eating of the grapes. That's some heavy shit. That page by itself is worth buying the book. That page alone, heavy shit. You can't start nothing without defining it. You are the people of definite. That's you. That's your culture. That's your culture. You have to separate your emotions. Everybody beat down the left side of your brain so much. No, no. You need both sides. That's what this book. That's what this book. That's what the tithing really is. The tenth is using both sides. You can't rely on one side of your brain. You can never just become an emotional creature. You are done. All your decisions, all of your doggone scope on thing, your perspective is done because you're functioning on half of your doggone existence, your brain, your mind, whatever you want to call it. You can't be completely logical because you're done. The tithing is the heros gamos. That's the approach. That's the approach. Okay, so the question then is, knowing how important language is, going back to the original question, what is life? What is life? And what I deduce from my observation is that with all of the medical stuff going, all of the murder broadcasts through media, life has been skewed with survival. Now we're talking about life in the sense of survival and mixing the two. Survival is this. Survival comes from this word. This is a root family, upo, and this is a subgroup. Is Roman numeral 3I. That's a subgroup. Upo 3I. Near, down, from, up, under. So survival means you're trying to bring something that has been buried down. You're trying to bring it up. Okay? But if survival just stays in that mode of just bringing it up and there's nothing to do with it, then what is brought up goes back down under. And that is how we live most of the time, is just trying to bring something up to the surface just to hold on. But the difference between survival and life comes from a very dynamic root. Life, Roman numeral 1. And then what I have here is called bilabials. F, V, P, P, H, B. Because that F is interchangeable with all these, with the V, the P, the PH, and the B. Therefore, life can become lib, as in libido. Life can become lip. Life comes through the lips, the word. Life is also live, as in the liver. The word for liver, check this out. The word for liver in Hebrew, I'm just going to write it. I'm not going to say it. Liver in Hebrew is this. Now you do the science. That's the word for liver in Hebrew. I just told you B is a bilabial. So B can become a V. Put a V right there. You know vowels are interchangeable. That E can become an I. Vowels are interchangeable. The A can become an O. That's a hard K. K. That K can be substituted with a C. Now somebody take a piece of paper and write that down and tell me what that can sound like. It's very familiar right now in these times. C O V I D. Liver. Coming back to life. The problem, I just told you what the great scheme is. It's just a joke on the whole world. It's a joke. It's a joke to convince the world that survival is life. That's the joke. Life from its root, like means to anoint, to adhere. So there we go. Adhere, we're talking about bringing something back together again. Bringing something back together. But how, Jamal? How? Because we got to go deeper. We got to go deeper into this thing. So we got to go back to Hebrew again. I'm going to erase all this. Got to go back to Hebrew again. And the main character who is beat down in the Bible, and Kobe, that's right. The main character who's beat down in the Bible is this, Eve. Eve. I just told you that V is a bilabial. So V is interchangeable with F, P, PH, and shit. One more. PH, and B. Yeah, B. These are bilabials. Bilabial means it takes both lips to form it. Labial. Make sure I ain't got the white mouth. Labial. So you got to say F, P, B. So you got to put your lips together to say those. So that's bilabial, okay? And they're similar in the form of how the lips have to come together. Not that they come together, but how they come together. Okay, so the 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 reason. All right, y'all ready? Oh shit, they're gonna put it on now. Okay, I gotta say this quick. Um. Okay. So if I take Eve, Eve. Okay, y'all gotta hold on. All right. You change the E to V and you get F, F-A. Now you put the S on the end and you now have the Hebrew word for zero, Ephes. So this is who Eve really is. And Eve in Hebrew means life. But the Hebrew word for her is Hoa. What that sound like? If you ever played sports or you've done any hard exercise or whatever, Hoa. Hoa is breath. Breath. And what's the significance of breath? Breath comes from a root. Is this Baru? Baru means stir, warm, boil. Okay? All right? So basically, we're talking about its spirit. And this is movement. Hope that makes sense. Hoa, Eve is life. The word in Hebrew is Hoa. We listen to the sound and we make the correlation. Hoa is breath. Breath, Indo-European stir, warm, boil, stirring spirit. And by doing that, that equals movement. So Eve is zero, Eve is breath, Eve is spirit. Eve is Sophia in the Gnostic text. And Eve, we said what? Sophia fell down and her breath was blown into man. Bam. But let's go back and focus on the zero. I told you at the beginning, my daddy always kept telling me before he passed, I don't know. I don't know. He was going back to zero. The most masterful thing you can do is get close to zero. The fool card in tarot. Zero. Because the fool stands on the cliff and forgets everything he or she has learned from the previous journey and prepares to jump again. This is not some sick, suicidal mindset. It's saying it is now a vacuous something that is open to learn. Life is the zero, which is a verb in Hebrew. Like I said, Eve is movement. Well, see how it all connects together? In Hebrew, zero is a verb. Ephes. Ephes is a verb. The first thing she becomes is the number one. One is an adjective. Adjectives do what? They modify nouns. The numbers 2 through 10 in Hebrew are nouns. They are states. So what's the beginning of suffering? When Eve starts taking a state, which is one, the suffering begins. So this is where numerology, true numerology, not the I'm a 4, I'm a 3. That's no. We're talking about deeper than this. Those numbers have meanings. One is the first state, and it modifies the other states. All right. But Eve is always there because it's the breath that keeps them moving. So when we get into these situations where these things happen and we start putting our focus on so-called people of the majority culture, we have now made states, things that are mere states of Eve becoming itself again, or God becoming itself, or the divine becoming itself again. We have just raised these states up to the level of being divine. They are not your number one enemy. When you make them your enemy, you make them your God. They are just states that exist. And when you focus on them, you're dead because that has nothing to do with life. Am I making, did this make sense? That's the game. That's the motherfucking game. I hate when I go back and look at these things and I see myself animated. I feel like such a fool, but fuck it. I'm in the moment. We got to think outside of the box. First of all, we got to think. And you have to, sometimes that's why I say, you can talk to me in May and you might get one version of me. You can talk to me in June, you might get another. Because I keep forgetting. I'm constantly going through a zero, a zero, a zero, a zero, a zero. You shouldn't be talking to me for 5 years saying the same stuff. I'm going through a zero. I'm going through a zero. And it allows me to keep on expanding and expanding and expanding and expand. Do you know? Look, the shit all lines up. When we go beyond freestyling, you can get a congruent, hard, fixed understanding on things. If our goal is really about coming together, then this is where we can go. Let's dig down to what we left ourselves. Do you know in Arabic, the word for zero is sifr? S-F-R. Look. Sefer, Sifr, Sifr. In the Kabbalah, what do we have? Sifra, or Sephora, or Sifrith. I said the F is bilabial, right? So a Sephora is spelled like this, right? Take away the vowels and you got S-P-R. I mean S, hold on. Hey! S-P-H-R, which is the same as S-F-R. It's one science all over and over again. So Sifr is suffer, it is separate, and it is the Sufi. The Sufi is the sufferer because the suffering is to be on the path. We'll come back and do this again. I gotta go. I gotta do my duties. But this is just a public service announcement. Once again, thank you for everybody showing your love. I got 10 more in. The Lies Behind the Tires. You can get them at mastersofthecosmos.com. And piss off people at Walmart. You can get these. Click on apparel, mastersofthecosmos.com. As always, stay down till you get up. When you get up, stay down. Peace.